Back to the channel. Today I want to go over some stuff about the Kill Devil diesel cylinder heads I'm using on the truck. They are one of the bigger names right now out there for cylinder heads for 6 liters. They also offer 6.4 and various other things as far as porting and lots of stuff. We're not going to get into the porting work that they have. Maybe when I go visit Jared down in North Carolina, we will kind of talk some of the things. I know he had some changes going on with things like that, but he does offer those services. So if you're interested, give him a call and get that information from him. But today I want to talk about just some specifics on the cylinder heads. And the first time I did an interview with him, I wasn't really prepared, and that's my fault. Thankfully, he kind of saved that, had some great information. I think there's some great stuff in there for you guys. So go check that video out. And this is kind of the second version. This is what I should have had ready for the first one, so I do apologize. But anyway, we're going to just go over some things. I have some notes here. I reached out to him, got to talk to him through email, and asked him a few questions. So the first thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about valve guides. And I do apologize for looking down. I have my notes down here. So valve guide material. So a lot of videos talk about bronze valve guides, and I knew he didn't use bronze valve guides, but I wanted to ask him, so what do you use and why? It seems like a lot of people highly recommend these bronze valve guides. So here's his response. So the material, it's an iron matrix valve guides. They are diamond honed to size. And I asked him, again, why? Why this material? Why the diamond honing process? And he said, first off, they'll outlast a bronze valve guide. The bronze is fairly soft. And the reason he does the diamond honing process is it creates cross-hatching, much like your cylinder walls in your motor. It serves very similar purpose. It helps hold the lubricity. It gives increased surface area for the valve to ride in, which will also give more cooling. Apparently, I think he quotes, don't hold me to this number, but I do believe he says about 40% of the cooling takes place in this surface area, so it's very important to have as much surface area as you can to give the most cooling. The cross-hatching will spin the valve guide itself, or the valve itself, helping to kind of keep a good seal over time. I did reference that it helps retain lubricity. So again, it's an iron matrix valve guide, diamond honed to size, creates a cross-hatching in there, and it'll outlast the bronze valve guides. Not to say the bronze is a bad material. I don't want anyone to think I'm talking bad about other people's products or anything like that. And sometimes there's pros and cons to each material you use, and it's kind of like, there isn't a right or wrong answer. This is just what Kill Devil Diesel chose to go with and what they've had great success with so far. So moving on, we're going to talk about the valve seats next. So the stock cylinder head is prone to cracking. And the stock cylinder head's made of gray cast iron. And they heat treat the valves, which is needed. If you didn't heat treat the valve seat area on a head, it would just beat it to nothing, and you'd have sealing issues pretty quickly. So they hardened it. Problem is, when you harden gray cast iron, you also make it very brittle. Some of you guys out there that know about the hardening process, generally it's a heat treating process. And you can get the wear resistant characteristic you want, but a lot of times you'll make the underlying material very brittle. So that's what happens a lot. In my case, that's part of my problem, is I have a cracked cylinder head. I didn't blow head gaskets. The cylinder head itself is cracked. And part of that is because they didn't come with valve seats. Sorry about my phone going off. They didn't come with valves, like a press-in valve seat from factory. So this is a cost-saving measure by International to keep production costs down as low as possible, because Duramax, Cummins, Detroit Diesel, all these other companies are using press-in valve seats, and there's a reason for that. So let's get into what Jared does here. He has an alloy nickel iron matrix, which all that means is it's not like a straight single material. It's a combination that's made up, and they can specify the grade, which is like the overall quality of the material they're using, and exactly what percentages of those things they want. Sorry, I gotta rest my arm here a little. So why they would want that, why that's a good thing to have, is you're able to specify a material that'll give you the wear characteristics, so you have a long you have a great product over the long haul. It'll hold up. It'll take the abuse these trucks are going to dish out. At the same time, it'll resist cracking. So we have, with this material, we have the wear resistance that we need, and at the same time, it's not going to crack easily either. So going into some of the other pros is it machines well, so they're happy with that, and it holds up well in the high heat. So he does reference here when I was talking to him that they have used a copper nickel alloy in some really high temperature applications, probably your drag trucks, sled pullers, those people running big compound turbos and such. They've used them, and they're considering using them on all their motors in the future. I do not have the copper inserts. Just throwing it out there. I have the standard alloy nickel iron matrix that he uses. So the other things about the valve here is they have a modified valve recession. So they sink the valve deeper into the cylinder head to prevent valve clearance. A lot of guys, especially if you've been around the 6.0 long enough, remember in kind of its infancy, as people were doing cylinder head work, they were taking too much off of the cylinder head, and they were having like the valve wasn't recessed enough. Maybe it was inexperienced machine shops, I'm not quite sure, but the valve was hitting the piston, obviously causes pretty significant issues, and a few upset people, I'm sure, at that. So they sink it deeper. They have a unique multi-angle radius valve seat profile, which is a valve job, guys. So you get essentially, it's their custom valve job for what they feel. And if you've done any research, there's a lot of guys out there doing their own cylinder heads, and each of them kind of talk about what they do for their valve job, so to speak, and everyone's got a different reason for it, and this is just theirs. So that's what you get with their head. Now, he says this does drop, how they have everything does, sorry, I'm getting off camera. How they have everything set up, it does drop compression very slightly. You have the increased valve clearance. It's not a huge change, but there is a change. I think he says like 1/10 of a point or something. So, I kind of went into this. Sorry, I have my notes a little backwards, but why use the alloy? They can specify grade and combination of material. Problems with factory valve seats. We went over that they harden it, which you need that for wear characteristics. But again, it created the cracking issue that the 6.0 is pretty well known for. It's cost saving measure. They do say here it has a improved flow over factory. It's not enough to advertise. You're not going to gain 15-20 horsepower from it, guys. But there is an increased flow with these cylinder heads the way they're set up. So there is that. Again, it is not. He states in the email to me that it is not enough to advertise a difference, but there is something there. Let's move on to valve springs, seals, and retainers. All of his are USA made for him. He specifies what he wants. They are installed at a slightly higher pressure than the original equipment. So when he saw used heads, he was seeing them at about 65 to 75 pounds. He installs his at 80 to 85 depending on the application. And this is what he recommends for 95% of trucks. There's less wear with this. A lot of people, he says, will call him up and say, hey, I want performance valve springs. And he starts talking. He goes, well, your build doesn't need that. And a lot of people just want it. And sometimes what happens, this is kind of from talking to DNA, is you can end up, when you don't have your valve springs and stuff and everything, the system lined up perfectly, you can end up with parasitic loss in the system. So you can be set up for A, B, and C and end up with a negative result because somewhere along the lines, things don't add up. Like sometimes your boost with valve spring pressure, and I don't understand it all, guys, so I do apologize. I'll leave that part to the professionals. But Jared knows what he's doing. I would take his recommendation very seriously if you call him up and he says, hey, you don't need this. The other thing is there's less wear in your motor, guys. You want this thing to last a while. I don't want to spend all this money to turn around and have to replace parts early because you wanted something your build didn't need. So, and last here, when would you want to go to heavier springs? So you want to go to heavier springs if you have compound turbos, a huge single turbo, you're running nitrous regularly, you're a sled puller, a drag racer, you have a really aggressive camshaft. Mind you, I do want to say I'm using a Colt Cam Stage 2, so that's not an aggressive camshaft. Just so you guys are aware, I have stock OE, his OE spring pressure in my truck. So, if you're running a real aggressive cam, then more aggressive than they recommend, then that'd be a good time to go with the performance springs. Also, at that point, you want to consider their performance push rods. Now, I did put performance push rods in my truck. I definitely, with what I want to do not need them. I just kind of wanted them. And there's no real con to having them in there, so at least not that I'm aware of, not that Jared and I discussed. DNA services, he said, nah, you might as well, dude. You're there. So anyway, that is that. That's I've been planning on doing this for a while, guys. I do apologize. It's very busy, and the channel's we've had a lot of great success for us lately. It's been very exciting for Josh and me, and you keep doing what you guys are doing. We appreciate all your support, all your likes, comments that you guys leave. New subscribers, those of you guys that are sharing our videos, we always have a few I think last month we had like 15 shares of our videos, so we appreciate that stuff, guys, as you're helping us grow and become the channel we're hoping to grow into, and we really can't say thank you enough. We continue to put out videos because of you guys, so thank you again. And just a heads up there, we are hoping to do a video together this weekend. I'm heading up to Josh's, and we're going to hang out. Hopefully I have my truck and I can show that off. Maybe have Josh drive the truck he hasn't driven it with the new tune, and he sure as heck hasn't driven it with everything getting done now. So maybe we'll get a reaction video of Josh driving the truck for the first time. And that's that, guys. So sorry this video went much longer than I typically run. I guess not too terribly much longer, but as always, guys, please comment, please subscribe, leave a like down below. All that stuff helps our videos continue to do better, get more views, and get us out there to everybody. Thank you. I can't say thank you enough, guys. A bunch of you guys have started, well, not a bunch. A few of you guys have started channels after Josh and I started this, and again, that's an awesome compliment to us that we kind of motivated some of you guys that have thought about it for years to do. So, again, thank you to all of you guys, and have a great day.